Dear students, good afternoon. Today we are going to talk about migration and globalization. So first let me define what is migration. Migration is the movement by people from one place to another place with the intention of being settled permanently or temporarily in a new location. While we already define what is globalization, globalization is the spread of products, technology, information, jobs, and so on across the national borders and cultures. We can see that the trend of migration it becomes a common aspect of people's life, significantly which is driven by globalization. So we can see the huge number of people living outside their home countries. Okay, so in 1990, it was estimated that 120 million people were living out of their home countries, and which was estimated in 2012 approximately 215 million according to World Bank. So which is approximately 3.05% of world population. So this figure was in 2012, but it is 2020. We can expect that this number has already increased. So there are many reasons why this migration happened, such as economic opportunities, then because of the social conflict, the social war. Okay, as we can see, the refugees, Rohingya refugees, then we have Syria, many refugees. Okay, so Afghanistan and many parts of the world, we have many refugees because of this social chaos, social conflict, or we can see the war. So traditionally, it was coined as push and pull factors. Okay, there are some factors uh, push them to migrate, and there are some pull factors. Okay, so what cause a person to leave their home country? So there are some factors that entice them or lure them to a foreign country. So let's look at the migration in an early era of globalization. As we can see, the period of 1850, okay, and 1914, there were 1 million people a year were drawn to the new world by the turn of the 20th century. So one of the reasons of mass migration is the growing prosperity in other developing countries, then falling transport cost relative to wages and lower risk. So all these factors help to facilitate this era of mass migration. For example, US had almost 15% of its citizens foreign born. Okay, so these people came from countries such as Ireland, Italy, while also consists particularly large number of Russian, East European Jewish, then Czechoslovakian, then Poles and Germans, okay, and so on. So the big number of European descendants in America today came during this era. Then South America also have seen mass migration into their countries. People from Spain and Portugal migrating to Latin nations such as Argentina, Brazil, and Chile, to which they have a past colonial connection between those nations. For example, Portugal and Brazil, where both nations share the same mother language, mother tongue. And Argentina has also become an interesting nation to migrate as during the 1930s, the country per capita income of people living in Buenos Aires was, this is the capital of Argentina, was much higher than those living in New York. Then the wave of immigrants into their country have seen some backlash from the native themselves. In America, for example, immigrants were blamed for crime, disease, and the persistence of poverty in the urban centers of the Northeast and Midwest. Furthermore, immigrants formed a large and restless population that seemed ripe for social conflict. So, with the whole world starting to call for a socialist revolution, particularly among the poor immigrant who also were a large part of the members and leaders of labor unions, were often were viewed as potential source of foreign socialist opposition to American capitalism. But in 1919 and 1920, U.S. Attorney General at Michelle Palmer, Palmer instigated numerous of immigrants during the Palmer's raids, Palmer's raids, which led to the deportation of thousands of supposed communist agitations. Okay, according to Daniels 2002. Then in 1878, the US Supreme Court ruled the Chinese immigrants were prohibited from becoming naturalized American citizens. Then 1982, the US Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, preventing Chinese laborers from coming to the US for 10 years. Later, the act was amended to prohibit virtually all Chinese immigration, a situation that lasted until the mid 90s. Then, post World War II migration, as Europe rise again from the events World War II, they again became attractive destination for potential migrants. Europe has also opened their gates to outsiders to help rebuild the nations ruined by the war. Furthermore, during the post-war period, technological advancements in land and air travel decreased the cost of migration. So people immigrating from developing countries to the West was on the rise. So this is helped by rise of income in those developing countries, which help to facilitate immigration. Then let's talk about migration today. One example of people escaping war zones and conflict area can be seen in Syria, where mass tension between the government and ISIS has seen millions filling towards Europe and Asia. The people are being squeezed into the fight between those two parties, had to take the decision to travel hundreds of miles to ensure the survival of their family. A 2016 UN report found out that there are 5 million refugees that are outside of Syria. So there is also other examples would be of Venezuela and Colombia back during Pablo Escobar time. People of Colombia ran away to Venezuela in search of safety as the violence from gangs, drug cartels, and the FARC rebels or Revolutionary Armed Force of Colombia escalated. Now the economic catastrophe which is Venezuela has seen people from Venezuela fleeing to Colombia amid violence from gangs who were desperate to find a means of living. So the president of Colombia even has told the army to open up their border to Venezuelan as a gesture of gratitude of their deeds beforehand. So why migration happens? Factors such as push factors and pull factors that driven them to migrate, okay, that entice them to migrate, okay. Push factor that drives people to leave their country, and pull factor is a factor that makes people interested in the new location. Push factors are the negative reason for the sending country, for example the war conflict, social chaos, and pull factors are the positive reason for the receiving country. So the next part will discuss about the push and pull factors of migration. So we end the first part here. Thank you.